The devil's on the loose and he's dancing with the mummy.
Doc Mark and Chorus, the little mummy, here to bring you another episode of Macabre Cast, where we'll be dropping R's where they belong and adding them where they don't. And so we begin another episode of Macabre Cast, episode 70. Regulars, welcome back. Newbies, welcome. Worshippers, get out of here. Well, school's back in session, and with it comes all the traffic and the headaches.
Well, Doc, I have just the thing to cheer you up. Seeing you're fighting all that traffic, and you have those headaches, I have a joke. Doctor says to his patient, I have good news and bad news. The patient says, okay, tell me the good news. The doctor says, you only have 2 days to live. The patient says, that's the good news? What's the bad news? And the doctor says, I've been trying to reach you for 2 days.
And on that note, it's time for horror news.
Life's river shall rise. She said.
The trailer for Apartment 7A has dropped. This is Here's What Happened Before Rosemary's Baby. This looks interesting, but they've revisited this film a few times, and nothing really seems to work like the first time, so we'll see. And images have surfaced of Mike Flanagan's next Stephen King venture, The Life of Chuck. Because I haven't read a King book since the early 90s, this title is unfamiliar to me. The Life of Chuck made its world premiere at the Toronto International Film Festival. Be interesting to see what this is all about. Alien Romulus is the highest grossing horror film of the year. Joe Bob Briggs ended another great season with a 6-movie marathon called Night Marathon. And Shudder has just signed him on to a season 7 for next year. And if it's real life horror that you're into, Netflix has revealed a teaser trailer for Monsters, the Lyle and Eric Menendez story. The brothers that slay together, stay together. And that's it for horror news.
She said.
And Brownie agrees. Brownie, the corpse-sniffing dog.
Human sacrifice, dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria.
Horror Chat Matt said carte blanche for horror merch. No repercussions. And granted, you said the Orca like he did, but then your pick was Larry Talbot's cane. Anyone you could get that anyway. That's probably something you can get. That's your carte blanche.
You're right, Karis, and I have thought about this, but you are correct. And I did think about this, and I think now I would say the Overlook Hotel, or the Stanley Hotel, that The Shining is in. But then what would I do with that? Well, I could probably go down and have a bourbon with Lloyd, I guess.
Your money's no good here. Orders from the house. Drink up, Mr. Thomas.
Tick, tick, boom.
What happened to you getting Grim Kim's sister on here? Chris, Twin Grim. What happened to that? Thought you were going to get that done.
She refuses to come on the show because she hates dwarf mummies.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
Hi, Dark Mark. Hi, little Karis. How are you? Happy Labor Day. What a nice day. Just enjoying having a Monday off. It's so nice. I just listened to this week's episode. Matt, you have the best questions. If I could get something off a movie set carte blanche, I'm gonna take I maybe an old plantation home, I'm not sure, but the huge home from Hush Hush Sweet Charlotte. So you said carte blanche, that's my choice. Tina, it was so nice hearing from you. I love Carnival of Souls. I was just talking about it earlier today. I prefer the black and white too, for sure. The question why I was talking about it is because there was a thread on one of my feeds that said, what if the final girls don't make it? And I had listed that as one because it is. By default, you get it. Guess what, Tina? I haven't seen Donnie Darko. And I feel the same way you do. I do want to see it, especially now after having heard a lot of theories on synopses and theories about the movie in general. I do want to see that. Sometimes, I get caught up and I don't want to see something if there's I don't know, if it has a certain cult status to it. I don't know. I just get a mental block about watching certain movies, but I do want to see that, and thank you for mentioning it as well. Mark, I had three movies left of my list of my little vacation binge that I had wanted to mention. So I'm just gonna drop those. Before I begin, I did watch something last night on. It must have been on Tubi. It was called Jug Face. It's from 2015, and it falls under the category of horror, but it's more like a cult / psychological thriller category. It was really good. I enjoyed it a lot. I was mentioning that as per the last question I had just mentioned. I would mention that one too, and I thought it was well worth it. It was followed by another movie called Nest, and Dee Dee Williams is in that, whatever her name was from E.T., and some other people. Yeah, it was good. It was it was a slow burn, but it was good, and it just kind of auto-fed. And I watched it last night, and yeah, I would say it was enjoyable. But let me get on to my three of my little movie marathon I had. One I'll mention is Die Die, My Darling, which is also known as Fanatic, and it's a Hammer film. Is it 1965? Tallulah Bankhead, and she died in her early 60s, and this was just a few years before she died, and she's holding poor Stephanie Powers, who's young and pretty, of course, she always was, a hostage, and it's like one of those. Oh, it was just so 70s, 60s, 70s. I loved it. Guess who makes an appearance as someone with low cognition, we'll just say? Donald Sutherland, and his character just had me silly laughing. It was great because it's makes the cult movies lists all the time. And I like making my way through that, and it was an enjoyable romp. The next one I'm going to mention is called Fear in the Night. I believe that's 1971. Joan Collins is in it, of course. Talk about another gorgeous person. I'm not sure if the character was British or not, because like I said, they do that transatlantic accent a lot. But I think it was set over there in the UK. And it's a headmaster and his wife who are trying to gaslight this poor young gallant into killing the I don't know, the headmaster, the assistant headmaster, something like that. And it was interesting story, how the story unfolded, and I love catching Joan Collins and her old stuff. And I saw her in this one movie. It was about a demon baby from the early 80s, and oh, it just had me laughing. It was great. Anyway, yes, I would recommend Fear in the Night. If you like the old-fashioned 60s, 70s UK and American stuff like me. I think you're getting the gist of the things I like. The last one I'm going to mention is, I alluded to it last week, that there is a movie. It's called Daddy's Gone A-Huntin', okay? And it's 1969, I think. And I knew what to expect when I watched this movie for the first time because I had read some things about it. However, my sister didn't know what was coming. So there is this one part of the movie that is so alarming that the audience thinks this is really what happened, and the few 10 seconds leading up to it are just like, no. And that was great to have that kind of like, it was great. And then the end, it just got so like spectacularly ludicrous in a sense that it was awesome. It's like she's kind of playing like the victim heroine the whole time. And then at the end, it's like, I don't know. I'm just like, well, lady, it didn't have to come to this. But anyway, I did like the ending a lot. And I would absolutely recommend the movie about a guy who feels rejected and turns stalker, and the consequences that follow. Let's leave it at that. Okay, I'm gonna leave you guys to enjoy the rest of your day. Matt, keep those questions coming. I love it. Larry, I have been thinking about what you think about, the sequels that are better than the other, and I'm still pondering on that. And thank you for the last couple of reviews. I might have to check out the whole Exorcist line again and see what I think about what you were saying about the third. All right, I'll talk to you guys later. Have a wonderful day. Bye.
Always a great call from Grim Kim. I don't know that I've seen any of these movies, Grim, although I may have seen Die Die My Darling under the other title, Frantic. Is it Frantic, I think you said? And by the way, it's Dee Wallace. Dee Wallace is the mom in E.T. What would a week of Macabre cast be without Grim facts? Thanks again, Grim. Hope to hear from you next week. Deep Death Dive. Today's Deep Death Dive is all about the beginnings of Exorcist III, or, as most monster kids know it as, Legion.
Incidentally, who's this Damien you mentioned?
Don't you know?
I know nothing, except I must go on killing Daddy. I must shame him. Are they calling these Gemini killings in the papers? You must get them to do that, Lieutenant. It's important.
The Gemini is dead.
No, I am not! I'm alive!
On May 5th of 1971, William Peter Blatty released a book called The Exorcist. To date, 13 million copies have been sold. This was inspired by the actual events of a 1949 exorcism of a young boy from Cottage City, Maryland, and the horrifying 1634 Loudun exorcisms, a notorious witchcraft trial that took place in the Kingdom of France. The novel quickly became noted as a beach read, which simply meant it's engaging, entertaining, and easy to read. When originally proposed to Hollywood as a film, it was rejected. Director Mike Nichols said he felt a young girl couldn't carry the film, a decision he much regretted later on. And then, in 1977, William Goodhart wrote the horrendous Exorcist II, and John Borman directed it. William Peter Blatty filed lawsuits against the studio, who had also barred him from post-production of the first film. At the end of it all, Exorcist II: The Heretic was laughed at by moviegoers, and by most is considered one of the worst sequels of all time, despite its all-star cast. In 1983, Blatty would release the official sequel, a novel simply called Legion. According to the Bible, Jesus exorcised a man believed possessed. When Jesus asked the demon, "What is your name?" the demon replied, "Legion, for we are many." I cannot implore to you enough, monster kids. if you have the chance, read this book. The movie is great. The book is astonishing. Blatty wanted Legion to be a film, but not if he couldn't direct it. And the studios weren't having it, until his agent finally secured him a deal with Morgan Creek Productions. And in 1990, an official sequel to The Exorcist was to be released. But not without pushback. Even though Blatty had written the novel, the script, and would now direct, you know the golden rule, he who has the gold makes the rules. Morgan Creek Productions demanded that Exorcist be in the title, and that an exorcism would conclude the film. Regardless of how Blatty would protest these decisions, if these could not happen, then there would be no film. I will not take away from the movie because it's one of my personal favorite sequels of all time. But read the book. It towers over the piece of the story Hollywood decided you could see. I was so excited to see Jason Miller reprise his role as Damien Karras. I have read that he struggled at the time with alcoholism, and that's unfortunate. The cop, Kinderman, to me will always be J. Lee Cobb. But unfortunately, at the time this film was being made, he had already passed. But if you have to replace greatness, replace it with greatness. George C. Scott would step into the role for Legion Exorcist III, and he was none other than top-notch. William Peter Blatty passed away January 12th of 2017 at the young age of 89 of multiple melanoma, just 5 days after his birthday. I can only hope that one day faithful to the book version gets made into a film or a miniseries so that the true sequel to The Exorcist can be seen the way it was meant to be seen. If you have a film or a horror topic that you'd like to hear a deep depth dive on, tell me about it. Just ask. On Thursday, September 26th, I, Dark Mark, will be appearing on WARA 1320 AM radio, promoting my 2 songs, October 31st Halloween and the Ghastly Ones, and my new old-time radio show, Terror. WARA's link will be in this week's show description. More information to follow.
Sometimes I like to go for walks in graveyards.
As you know, Halloween is coming, and Dark Mark asked the Monster Kids to send in pics of their horror merch. And here's one from none other than Grim Kim. Although she cut off her face a little bit. But here's Grim Kim's horror merch.
Remember, Monster Kids, Halloween is around the corner. So I want to start hearing what your Halloween movie picks are going to be, whether they're your annual watch or something you want to add to your annual watch or something you haven't seen and want to see. And I know Chicago Tina has asked, as many others have asked, what can I watch, what to watch. And sometimes, I just try to throw a few out there. Some you may have seen. Some you may not have seen, some you may never have heard of. And here are 3 ones I'm going to throw out there this time. The first is Fade to Black from 1980. It's the story about Eric Binford, the lonely movie buff who struggled to find his place in the world. My mom used to say that this kid reminded her of me, minus the murderous intentions, I hope. Number 2 is Madman from 1981, a fun Friday the 13th ripoff full of campers we don't care about getting offed by a crazed axe-wielding killer. Now, watch for Galen Ross, who plays Betsy. She's best known as Francine in the original classic Dawn of the Dead, and then was Leslie Nielsen's adulterous wife Rebecca in that segment, Something to Tide You Over from Creepshow. My third and final suggestion is Dead and Buried from 1981. A sheriff stumbles upon a bizarre and outlandish plot involving the town coroner and the recently deceased. Watch for Robert Englund years before he would become Freddy Krueger. And those are my 3 suggestions for what to watch. Maybe you've seen them, maybe you've heard of them, maybe you've never seen them, maybe you hate them. but there's 3 suggestions for you. Until next time, stay on the road, keep clear of the moors, and beware the moon. But most of all, be good to yourself. This is Dark Mark, signing off. See you soon.
This is a Macabre Theater production.
Oh, Lordy frickin'